Your morning can be so simple. You place your keys on the table, glance at the clock, and rush out the door with your plate still empty. Skipping breakfast might seem like it saves you a few hundred calories or just feels like a small habit in a hectic day. But what if I told you that after age 50, this habit is tied to serious long-term health risks? What if that empty plate, day after day, is quietly trading away your muscle, your immune system, your mental clarity, and even your independence? Are you paying the price of a few morning minutes for a loss of strength, vitality, and memory? The answer isn't in that fleeting hangry feeling. Today, we're pulling back the curtain and looking straight at the science. What really happens in your body every time you leave the house with an empty stomach. This isn't a small matter. It's about risks that can build up over time. And after 50, your body doesn't bounce back as quickly as it once did. If you've ever told yourself, "I'm not a breakfast person," or you're chasing intermittent fasting by skipping breakfast altogether, this is a conversation you can't afford to miss. We'll dive into the data, examine the mechanisms, and understand what happens when your body is starved at the time it needs fuel the most. So grab a glass of water, get comfortable, and let's explore the 5 major risks of skipping breakfast after age 50. If you want science-backed advice to live stronger through the years, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Risk number 1. A silent threat lurking right in your morning routine. Picture an empty plate in front of you, a half-drunk cup of black coffee, and you tell yourself, skipping breakfast saves time, cuts a few hundred calories. It sounds reasonable, efficient. But what few people tell you is that after age 50, this seemingly harmless habit can quietly touch your heart literally. This isn't a rumor. Multiple studies have sounded the alarm, including a striking one from the University of Iowa showing that people who never eat breakfast face a significantly higher risk of death from cardiovascular disease. You might ask, is it really because of skipping breakfast? The honest answer is, it's a connection, not an absolute cause. But even after scientists adjust for factors like smoking or lack of exercise, that link remains strong enough to make us pause and think. So, what's happening inside? Why can an empty stomach send ripples to your heart? Let's start with your bloodstream. After a night of fasting, your body is in a mild state of depletion. Extending that by skipping breakfast is like keeping a red light on longer at your body's metabolic intersections. Some studies note changes in blood pressure and blood lipids when breakfast disappears. People who regularly skip it tend to have higher levels of LDL, the bad cholesterol that can cling to artery walls and form plaque. Imagine your vascular system like the plumbing in your house. Those plaques are like rust quietly building up over years, narrowing the pipes, forcing your heart to pump harder, and eventually raising the risk of heart attack or stroke. Or think of your body as a highway network. Breakfast is the green light that keeps traffic flowing smoothly. When you skip it, you unknowingly create a bottleneck, a metabolic traffic jam that makes everything feel cramped and strained. The numbers tell a clear story, and they don't favor this habit. A major review in a clinical nutrition journal, analyzing data from over 220,000 people, found that those who regularly skip breakfast have about a 22% higher risk of cardiovascular disease. When multiple studies are combined, the increased risk of severe cardiovascular events or death clocks in at around 21%. These aren't numbers meant to scare you. They're a reminder that after 50, your body doesn't bounce back as quickly, and small, repeated choices shape your long-term health. To make it real, meet Robert, 62 years old, the kind of guy who gets up and gets going. Every morning, he downs 2 black coffees and heads straight to his woodworking shop. He thinks he's saving time, saving calories, but each empty stomach morning is a slight tick upward on his vascular stress meter. Another moment keeping that red light on in his metabolism. For years, there's no obvious sign of trouble, until one day, while lifting a heavy plank, a crushing pain spreads across his chest. Robert collapses, confused about why this suddenly happened, but nothing was sudden. A small habit had been putting his heart under pressure, bit by bit, day by day. Skipping breakfast also sets off a frustrating cycle. You're hungrier later, you overeat in the afternoon or evening, your blood sugar spikes, your insulin works overtime, and your heart takes another hit. Over time, this quiet loop tightens. This isn't about blame, it's not about rigid bad or good labels. It's a gentle but firm reminder that a tiny morning choice can be the line between a smooth-running vascular system and one that's silently wearing down. So, what can we do without turning life into a dietary exam? Start with something simple. A bowl of oatmeal, a couple of eggs. It doesn't need to be fancy, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just consistent. Think of it as early armor for your heart, a green light to start your day. If you've ever said, "I'm not a breakfast person," give your body a second chance, a small experiment for a few weeks to see how your energy, focus, and stability shift. This isn't about chasing a trend, it's about returning to your body's logic. Because after 50, every small morning decision isn't just about calories. It's about choosing to stand by your heart today, tomorrow, and for the years ahead. Risk number 2, a silent doorway opening to type 2 diabetes. It sounds like a distant threat, but the secret lies in something utterly ordinary: when you eat. This isn't just about sugar, sweets, or the sneaky candies stashed in your drawer. After age 50, the way you start your morning can shape the entire metabolic day ahead. And when breakfast vanishes, that door cracks open. Have you ever skipped breakfast, only to find yourself ravenous by noon, eating like your body's sending out an SOS? That gnawing hunger isn't a sign of weakness. It's an urgent message from your metabolism. Day after day, responding poorly to that signal becomes a shortcut to blood sugar chaos. What does the science say? Large-scale reviews show that people who regularly skip breakfast face a noticeably higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. One analysis tracking over 96,000 people found that the more days a week you skip, the higher the risk climbs, plateauing around 4 to 5 days a week with an increase of about 55%. Those numbers aren't here to scare you, they're a reminder that meal timing, especially after 50, carries real weight. Why does this happen? Let's talk about insulin, the key that unlocks cells to let glucose in for energy. When you eat a balanced breakfast, fuel flows steadily, and insulin works smoothly, effortlessly. But when you skip it, you hand your body a tricky puzzle. In a fuel-deprived state, the locks on your cell's surfaces get temporarily rusty. Insulin struggles to open them. Your pancreas goes into overtime, pumping out more insulin to force glucose through. Over time, both the locks and the key wear down. Insulin resistance becomes your body's habit, and that's the hallmark of type 2 diabetes. Here's the kicker. Even if your total daily calories stay the same, the picture changes dramatically. Studies show skipping breakfast leads to bigger storms of glucose and insulin after lunch or dinner. Imagine stepping onto a roller coaster, soaring up, plummeting down, up again, down again. Those wild swings exhaust your metabolism, and your pancreas bears the brunt. The reason is simple: without a morning meal, your body isn't warmed up, less ready to handle the wave of sugar that hits later in the day. You might think, but I'm not overweight. This isn't just about weight. The risk persists even when body mass index is accounted for. In other words, skipping breakfast is an independent factor, quietly nudging that door to blood sugar trouble open a little wider each day. Meet Brenda, 58, an office manager who decided to try intermittent fasting by ditching breakfast. At first, it's a clear-headed buzz from coffee. Then, by early afternoon, a tidal wave of sugar cravings hits. She's irritable, hands shaky, quick to snap. Those aren't personality quirks, they're signs of blood sugar turmoil. A few years later, a routine test shows prediabetes. Her doctor explains, it's not just what she eats, but when and regularly skipping breakfast is a big piece of the puzzle. Another revelation catches her off guard. Studies suggest eating breakfast after 9 a.m. carries a higher type 2 risk than eating before 8. It's not about blaming the clock, but a reminder that an early, steady eating rhythm can be a protective barrier. The message here is clear and gentle. Breakfast acts like a stabilizer for your entire metabolism. It sets the tone for the day, preventing wild swings in blood sugar and insulin that could pave the way for disease later. You don't need a perfect spread or a complex recipe. You need a start. A balanced, consistent breakfast, treated like a small commitment to your health. Try noticing yourself for a few weeks. With breakfast, does your body still cry out in the afternoon? Does your mind feel steadier? If the answer is yes, you've already started closing that door. And if you're used to saying, "I'm not a breakfast person," I'm not here to judge. I just want to hand you a key, a small, timely habit that's kind to your age. Because after 50, we don't need dramatic life overhauls. We need steady, patient choices gentle enough to stay with us for the long haul. Start tomorrow morning, a kind breakfast. That's how you tell your body, I'm on your side. Risk number 3, a quiet erosion stealing your strength. It might sound far off, but the secret hides in a morning that seems harmless. When your empty stomach steps into a new day, it's not just energy being drained. It could be your muscles, your lifting power, the steady steps on a staircase. After age 50, your body naturally loses muscle mass over time. Muscle isn't about physique or youthful swagger. Muscle is your metabolic engine, the key to your independence. It lets you carry groceries, rise from a chair, and move freely in this world without leaning on others. So how does breakfast fit in? Think of your muscles as a crew of workers needing a morning wake-up call. After a night of 8 to 12 hours without food, your body shifts to a slight demolition mode to generate fuel. When you skip breakfast, it's like standing by as those workers tear down walls in your own house to gather firewood. The cost isn't loud, it's silent. And each brick of muscle removed takes away a piece of your confidence, your agility, your safety. A protein-rich breakfast is the switch that flips this around. When it arrives on time, protein sends a build and repair signal instead of tear down and burn. Amino acids act like fresh bricks, heading straight to your muscle tissue after a night of waiting. Skip that window, though, and your body extends its breakdown mode for hours, quietly pulling materials from your legs, back, and arms to cover the energy gap. By the time you eat enough protein at dinner, the golden window to halt muscle loss has closed. Even more telling, as you age, your muscles grow harder of hearing to protein signals. The same amount doesn't trigger as strong a building response as it once did. So your body needs steadier, clearer signals throughout the day, and morning is the first bell. Picture a coffee-only morning. That temporary alertness doesn't mean lasting strength. Your muscle fibers, fresh from overnight recovery, wait for raw materials that never come. You dive into your day, your body needs energy, and the quickest option is to dip into your most precious reserves. By afternoon, you feel a bit weaker lifting things, stairs feel tougher, your knees less steady. That's not just aging. It's the ripple of mornings left open, of building signals delayed again and again. The science here isn't loud, but it's consistent. Studies have noted a positive link between breakfast frequency and skeletal muscle mass. Simply put, regular breakfasts often correlate with greater muscle mass. We're not claiming absolute cause and effect, but the picture is clear. Muscles respond to a consistent eating schedule, and breakfast is a critical button to shift your body from breakdown to build. Carol's story might hit home. 67, a retired teacher, she skipped breakfast to shed a few pounds. Her weight barely budged, but her strength did. Jar lids she once opened with ease now slipped through her hands. Stairs made her knees creak. Her doctor was blunt. Cutting morning protein might be speeding up age-related muscle loss. She wasn't just missing energy, she was missing the strength to stand tall and steady. The way out isn't as complex as you might think. Prioritizing protein in the morning is a near unskippable strategy for many over 50. When your first meal delivers about 25 to 30 grams of protein, you're sending a clear message: start building, start repairing, start protecting. That message doesn't just preserve muscle, it supports bone density and creates a steadier energy flow through the day. No elaborate rituals needed, no tricky recipes, just a small, steadfast decision, repeated each morning. If you've ever called yourself a non-breakfast person, I'm not here to argue, I'm just suggesting a gentle experiment. Give your body a chance for a few weeks with a protein-packed breakfast. Notice how it feels to stand up from a chair, carry a bag, or end a long day. If things feel a bit sturdier, a bit lighter, that's a sign you're turning away from the slippery slope of muscle loss. Because tomorrow's independence, your ability to walk, carry, do for yourself, can start with today's breakfast. A small switch, flipped at the right moment, so your muscles can hear, respond, and stay with you for the long haul. Risk number 4, a silent, relentless double strike targeting your brain and immune system. On the surface, it's just a skipped breakfast, an empty stomach paired with the promise that work will keep me sharp. But beneath lies a cost you don't see right away. You start the day like driving a car with the fuel gauge on red. It still runs. But every reflex is half a beat slower, and tiny breakdowns begin piling up in the most critical places. First, your brain. Ever felt that fog in your head on mornings when you eat nothing? Trouble focusing, words trailing off mid-sentence. That's not just how you are. Your brain needs a steady fuel supply to run smoothly, and breakfast is the moment to refuel after a night of depletion. Skip it, and your brain limps along, scraping by on whatever's left. In the short term, you're sluggish. In the long term, that's where scientists perk up. Long-term studies on older adults paint a thought-provoking picture. Those who regularly skip breakfast face a higher chance of cognitive decline compared to those who eat it consistently. One decade-long study found that the breakfast-skipping lifestyle was tied to the fastest rates of decline. These folks not only scored lower on cognitive tests, but also showed early signs of neurodegeneration on scans. It's all correlation, not absolute proof of cause. But the signals are consistent enough that we can't brush them off. Sometimes, what steals your memory isn't a single storm, but countless mornings running on fumes. Now, your immune system, the silent shield. Picture your immune cells as an army. When you go too long without food, even just extending that morning hunger, your brain senses scarcity and orders conserve ammunition. A fascinating study on mice found that during fasting, many key immune cells retreat from the bloodstream, hiding deep in the bone marrow. When food returns, they flood back like a wave, but they bring higher inflammatory traits, leaving the body less ready to fight off threats. We must be cautious extending mouse studies to humans, but the question this raises is compelling. If you repeat this retreat and rush cycle every morning, day after day, is your shield quietly wearing down? Even more telling, in some populations, skipping breakfast has been linked to low-grade chronic inflammation, the spark for many chronic diseases. If you notice you're a bit fuzzier each morning, catching colds a bit more often, or feeling your body's always not quite ready, the issue might not be willpower but your fueling rhythm. A consistent, nutrient-rich breakfast isn't some elaborate ritual. It's like daily maintenance for your brain and an early roll call for your immune army. You don't need to wait for your memory to falter or your throat to burn before sounding the alarm. Just tweak your morning routine to give your brain a steady glucose stream and your immune troops a break from the exhausting retreat and rush cycle. I'm not sharing this to scare you, but to show you a door and how to close it. Tomorrow, don't send your body into another emergency mode morning. Give yourself a real, consistent, nutrient-packed breakfast. It's not just a meal. It's a promise to your memory, a shield for your immune system before you step into the world. Gentle, but resolute. Because after 50, we don't need loud life overhauls. We need steady, repeated signals strong enough to keep our minds sharper, our bodies stronger, and the years ahead more dependable. Risk number 5. A silent disruption that can creep into both your metabolism and your endocrine system. On the surface, skipping breakfast looks like a tidy strategy for weight loss, especially for women over 50. Fewer calories, less time, more control. But the truth rarely spoken is that an empty morning plate can awaken a cascade of stress signals, throw your hormones off rhythm, and quietly steer your weight, energy, and emotions in the opposite direction. Let's start with a familiar name, cortisol, the body's stress hormone. Naturally, cortisol peaks in the morning to help you wake up. With breakfast, that rhythm is fine-tuned. Your body knows fuel is ready, but when you skip it, your body may interpret it as scarcity. No food. Must survive. To cope, cortisol might keep pumping. When cortisol lingers, the message to your body is clear. Store, especially around the belly, the area many over 50 find the most stubborn. At the same time, sleep gets disrupted, and thyroid function can falter. For women past menopause, these shifts make the body even harder to please. More fatigue, moodier swings, weight harder to pin down. Now, look at your metabolic engine. Picture breakfast as the ignition switch. When you eat, your body gets the signal, fuel's here, burn efficiently. Skip it, and you risk getting stuck in survival mode, rationing every drop, slowing the engine to conserve energy. The irony? You hope for weight loss, but instead feel sluggish. Cravings hit later in the day, moods wobble, and keeping your metabolic rhythm becomes tougher, not easier. If you've tried skipping breakfast to tighten your weight, you might know this cycle: coffee, only mornings, mid-afternoon cravings exploding, evenings feeling emotionally fragile. That's not you being weak. It's what can happen when your hormonal buttons and metabolic machinery get the wrong message, one of scarcity. A strategy meant to bring control can spark a chain of stress, cravings, and storage you never wanted. Of course, the picture has nuance. Some thrive on certain intermittent fasting schedules. But for many over 50, going too hard by cutting breakfast entirely can feel shaky due to those hormonal shifts. Your body at this age isn't as stress resilient as it once was, its feedback systems are more sensitive, and the cost of a misfired signal can be bigger than you think. And here's another thought: your bones. Extended fasting periods have been linked in large-scale reviews to impacts on calcium metabolism and bone health. We need more research to tie skipping breakfast directly to fracture risk. But the question is serious: if repeated hunger gaps pile up, is your silent skeletal framework paying a hidden debt? It all points to a simple, weighty conclusion: your hormones and metabolism crave stability. They work best with a predictable, steady rhythm. Skipping breakfast can throw them into a wobble, where cortisol lingers, cravings surge, storage happens, and energy and mood feel unsteady. It's a strategy promising control, but sometimes delivers the opposite. If you see yourself in this picture, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to hand you a gentle, lasting choice. Restore a consistent morning rhythm, no elaborate rituals, no complex recipes. Just send the right signal: there's fuel this morning, your body is safe, it can run smoothly. For many over 50, that consistency is the real secret to less fatigue, steady rhythm, and reliable weight management. Because in the end, you're not just chasing a number on the scale, you're seeking a body with less stress, better sleep, and days powered by steady energy, all starting with a small morning decision today. We've walked through 5 major risks: a vulnerable heart, a doorway to type 2 diabetes, the erosion of muscle, an assault on your brain and immune defenses, and the threat of metabolic endocrine disruption. It sounds like a lot, maybe even heavy, but before you leave this video, I want you to hold on to this. You're not powerless. Knowing is the first step, acting is the next. And that step doesn't need to be fancy. The solution isn't in some glamorous diet or expensive superfoods. It starts with fueling your morning right consistently, kindly, steadily. A protective breakfast often rests on 3 pillars: protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Think of it as a message to your body. The fast is over, the day is here, it's time to build, repair, and thrive. First, protein, the guardian of your muscles. Aim for a simple target, about 25 to 30 grams to halt muscle breakdown after a long night. Eggs are an accessible, nutrient-packed choice. 2 to 3, boiled or softly fried, get you close to the goal. Greek yogurt or cottage cheese are solid options too. If you're plant-based, a high-quality protein smoothie or a hearty tofu scramble can be the perfect morning answer. Next, fiber, the shock absorber for your blood sugar. Oats, especially rolled or steel cut, are rich in beta-glucan, which supports your heart. Toss some berries into your yogurt or sprinkle a tablespoon of chia or flax seeds into a smoothie, and you'll notice steadier energy all morning long. Finally, healthy fats, the gentle fuel for your brain and hormonal foundation. A slice of whole grain bread topped with avocado and an egg is both satisfying and wholesome. A handful of walnuts or almonds in your oats or yogurt adds a delightful crunch, plus protein and beneficial fats. A bowl of oats with berries and walnuts, or a spinach omelet with a side of avocado. Simple, yet enough to tell your body it's safe and can run smoothly. A right breakfast isn't a ritual, it's a shield you give yourself every day. Now it's your turn. What's your go-to breakfast? If you've been skipping it, what small change are you ready to try tomorrow morning? Share in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and share it with a loved one or friend over 50. Who knows, one click from you could make a difference. Thank you for being here. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video.